Hi, I'm Tom and I'm a qualified lawyer through CILEx. I'm making this video to run through where to start with approaching the work-based learning portfolio of evidence. Just very quickly, this is under the existing scheme and not under the CPQ scheme, so if you're on the CPQ this probably doesn't apply to you. I think the first point with the portfolio is that you shouldn't assume that it's just about gathering evidence. It's called work-based learning and it's called that for a reason, and you absolutely should use this as an opportunity to develop your skills as a lawyer. It's likely that once you've got to this stage, you've probably been working in a legal role for a while. So some of the outcomes that you need to meet might feel like they're very easy and that you've done them many times. But remember that with the evidence that you're gathering, you're really looking to demonstrate to CILEx regulation that as of the day you submit that portfolio, you're already working at the level of a lawyer. So you should be taking any opportunity you can to improve your practice and actually exceed the standards that CILEx regulation are looking for. That way, you stand the best chance of succeeding with your portfolio. That said, there are two ways that you can approach gathering the evidence. You can look backwards and think whether you've done any evidence of work historically that might meet the criteria laid out by CILEx. And I think for many of you, you'll find that you can do this for a sizable chunk of the portfolio. Even if you do have work that meets the criteria, you should, though, think whether it's your best work or whether actually you could do something better that would be even clearer of meeting the criteria. So you can look backwards or you can look forwards and think about what work you can undertake in the future that might generate new evidence that you've met the learning outcome or better evidence. I've already made a quick video about what I think you should do before you start on the portfolio, and one of those things is writing down a list of every piece of evidence that you need to gather. So I'm just going to show you my list now. Here's my list. Now this differs to the list that CILEx regulation give you. If you go onto the CILEx regulation website, you can see that they have this week by week guidance and they list things out by outcome. Now the reason I don't like this is some of the outcomes have 2 examples. So actually I think this underestimates the task that you need to do. I feel that having the pieces of evidence laid out actually is much more representative of what you need to do. In my spreadsheet, I also lay out the different actions that you need to do for each piece of evidence. So gather it, redact it, complete the logbook sheet. And again, it just gives you more to tick off and more to complete. And that way you can feel like you're making progress, and that's going to make you more motivated to carry on. However, you can use this spreadsheet, I'll put a link down below, or you can do your own thing. What I would say is you should have an area for notes and ideas about evidence. So then when you're coming to do the portfolio, I think you should separate time where you're thinking about what evidence you can use or create versus when you're actually gathering or redacting that piece of evidence. So have a look at the list. Then for each of the outcomes, have a look on the CILEx regulation website. Now the great thing about the website is it tells you exactly what that outcome means. It tells you how to do the logbook sheet, but also it gives you examples of evidence that CILEx regulation have already signed off. So what you can do is use those as prompts to think about your own work, again either work that you've already done or work that you could do in future. One thing about the list, I wouldn't necessarily go down the list sequentially. I think it's fine to jump around for different bits. You will find some of them more easy than others, especially depending on the type of work that you do. I think by just doing as much as you can wherever it is in the list, again, you'll progress quickly and that will motivate you to keep going. One thing I would say is try and use recent examples if you can. When you submit your portfolio, all of the examples have to be less than 2 years old. So if you start off collecting examples that are 18 months old, that means you've only got 6 months to do all of it, finish and submit. And the last thing you want to have to do is go back and redo sections of your portfolio. So try and use evidence that's as recent as possible. So in sessions where you have the headspace, do this idea generation and write down notes about what you could use. And then in other sessions where you're tired, you've had a long day, you can do the fairly routine task of finding it and redacting it. And that's it for today. List out the evidence, make sure you're separating out the idea generation from the admin work. So best of luck and talk to you next time.